Hello and welcome to another video. This is Flow 2000 and today we are playing Kerbal Space Program with science and mods. Yes, those two can go together. Some of the mods are programmed like that. And it's really easy to program them yourself. It's like 2 lines of code. But anyways, today we are playing Kerbal Space Program in career mode with science with a bunch of mods. The main ones being MechJeb, KW Rocketry, the NovaPunch pack, as well as a few others. Later on in the series, I add TAC Life Support, which I forgot to add previously. I considered adding Deadly Reentry, but decided against it. But anyways, as you just saw right there, we just did our first mission. It was really lame, nothing on the scale of, trying to complete the tech tree in 3 missions. It was just solid rocket booster connected to a capsule. Now we researched a bit of stuff with the meager amount of research points we got, and we start to build another rocket, possibly to get into orbit this time. Think about just attaching it to a bigger solid rocket booster, because that's got to get us somewhere, right? But anyways, basically the concept of this series, as while I'm building here, is that we're going to take missions, some things that I make up, or maybe things that were planned and canceled, or went through with, and try and recreate them in our own way in KSP while having the barrier of science and, well, the barrier and the opportunity of science, because that's one of the things that science adds to Kerbal Space Program is incentive to go to other places and do things on planets. Now going into real time as opposed to time acceleration. Just preparing to launch my second vehicle, which is a collection of solid rocket boosters on the bottom with some extra capsules for extra power. Because I have researched rockets, but I have no idea how to make rechargeable batteries. But anyways, Jebediah Kerman in the cockpit there. We've just got the crew report and the mystery goo. Just doing some science on the launch pad real quick before we take off. But anyways, some of the more notable missions I was thinking about recreating were the Constellation mission. Now there is a video on YouTube of a recreation of the Constellation, the NASA Constellation mission. It's 36 minutes long, but it's definitely worth it. It's incredible, to say the least. And I sort of want to, I do not want to copy that. I want to recreate. Well, I will have to use some parts of it, because the concepts are well outlined in the plan for the Constellation program. There's even an animation as to how it would have worked. But aside from that, I hope to do it, not directly copying off him, because he did do quite a nice job. I'll link to that in the description, if I remember. Maybe I won't remember. But anyways, first stage separating here, back into time acceleration, using one of the more efficient rockets with the, thrust vectoring. Jebediah Kerman looking, I can't quite tell if he's afraid or happy. But anyways, just getting some more data here. La-di-da-di-da. But basically, of the mods I have, the most notable being the two-part packs I said earlier, KW Rocketry and NovaPunch. They both add mainly parts. The TAC Life Support plugin is quite nice. Basically, it's exactly what it sounds like. Your crew they need electric power for air quality and temperature control. They need food, water, and oxygen. And that's, well, obviously it comes in the cans. There is currently no way to make it, although I was thinking it's not too hard to take apart from the Kethane mod, which I believe I also am using. If I'm not, I will be very soon. But basically take one of the parts, edit the texture to look, say, blue instead of green, and say that instead of outputting fuel, which is what Kethane normally does, tell it to output say, food or water or oxygen. Um, but anyways, getting away from the life support plugin, just landing again here with our parachute. What else do you land with? Well, I take that back. Don't quote me on that. Anyways, preparing to land on our second mission, the moon above us. A tantalizing target for future missions. Certainly looks nice to go to. Question is, how long will it be until we get there? Something tells me a long time. But anyways, landing here, Jeb is looking happy as usual. Looking at the radar altimeter, and down below 500, and so the parachute opens up. They really should have a radar altimeter on the outer display, because right now I usually end up using MechJeb for the true surface altitude. But anyways, getting more science and researching more stuff, because we all love more stuff. I got batteries, but I didn't get solar panels, so I do something rather interesting with the batteries. You'll see about this in a second. I also attached one of these little nose cones with RCS in them. I think about attaching them there, but yeah, I do something a little interesting with the batteries. If you take a look at the video here. Because you're not already doing that. Just, I don't know what my thinking process is. Don't question me. Attaching one of the... Anyways, attaching one of the radar dishes. Transmission dishes, whatever. The mid-tier one. Along with the science bay. And sitting there for a second and looking at the escape tower. Back into real time for the beginnings of the launch. This is not really any different than the last one. Except that I've got a massive load of batteries. So there's that. Launching once again. Under control as usual. For now. Opening the science bay and getting the materials. Now I can see the reasoning for the... I don't quite like it, but I can see the reasoning for the fact that the science bay, which is supposed to expose materials to the elements, does not have a very good transmission value. As I can see why it would be much useful, much useful. Teach me how to English. Anyways, I can see why it would be much more useful if you would return it to the planet, which I do several times. As you know, when they went on the lunar surface in 1969, they brought back. They didn't just look at what it's called lunar regolith, I believe, and they didn't just look at it and say, okay, this is, or analyze it, and this is what it's made of. They actually brought stuff back because, well, it's useful. There may be some unknown properties of whatever element you bring back, or whatever it has happened to it that you can't tell without more advanced machines that you would only find in a laboratory. Did I just spend that much time talking about that? I think. Okay, back to the game. Launching our rocket back into time acceleration. Still massive amounts of batteries. Being stupidly conservative with my electric charge. Pretty much wasting those batteries. Gave me some extra weight. Now, at this point, I'm circularizing my orbit. I start to test more things and stuff. And here I set a maneuver node to get to a lunar encounter. So we'll just get like a lunar pass, and didn't look at my fuel reserves. So something rather interesting happens here, as we'll see in just a moment. Jeb looking happy as ever. I don't think he knows how to close his mouth. That's just his problem. He always looks happy or terrified. Now get off course for a second, and yep, burnout. That's a problem. So, yeah, there's that. Anyways, I start to transmit more information as I want to get some sort of science from this, but I have to return Jebediah home because I do not plan on losing Jebediah Kerman. Because he's Jeb. Jeb is essential to everything ever. Getting more things and transmitting more things. Why did I not time accelerate? Remind me? Never mind. Alright, at a nice 157 apoapsis here. EVA getting more reports, and all the reports, and the best reports. Anyways, warping up to here, back into time acceleration. I start to test from far out from Kerbal in space, in high orbit around Kerbal. Accidentally warp all the way back a little bit too far, and here I will go over here. I aim for retrograde and use the I transfer electric charge back into into the batteries on the capsule itself, so upwards of the decoupler, and decouple it, and it's still not enough. Our periapsis is still too high, so I use some RCS pack to try and push it forward, and that's not very effective, as we'll see in a moment. It would take me forever to do this, but I try for a little bit, quickly realize it's futile, and quit. And then a jump cut later, you'll see that I had an idea and realized that I was really stupid. Well, I realized A, that I was really stupid, and B, that that's actually brilliant. But I should probably do it better with, say, Separatrons spinning out here, being stupid again. You stupid Kerbal. Just can't stop spinning. Eventually I have to use time acceleration to get him to stop, and we go down and get back into our capsule. Trying to rotate it more and use it more. At some point I just give up and get back in the capsule. Yeah, right about here. Nope, but lied. I lied. It's right in front of my face, and I'm not using it. Spinning out again. Time accelerating away. Again. And once more into the... Are you gonna get... I lied. Okay, back into time acceleration now. Eventually I get back in. My periapsis isn't much lower. Now a jump cut later, I realize that I have that RCS nose cone, and I just use that to propel myself in retrograde. And, well, it works. It's awesome. Periapsis is lowering it. Initially I get scared that I won't quite have enough, but I quickly realize that I will easily have enough monopropellant to do it. But anyways, now that that problem is solved, or was solved, back to the concept of missions. Some of the other missions that I wanted to do, as well as a mission to Duna, or say a lunar base, that would have to have lots of food. I also plan on recreating launch vehicles that are realistic with the parts I have as I progress in science. Now, the Soyuz capsule is difficult to do, but I think I can do it with the parts I have. A replica of the Soyuz. I also have B9 Aerospace installed. Now, right here, as we come down in, we're going right over the Kerbal Space Center, and I think, hey, maybe I'll land there. Then I realize we are absurdly close to the island runway. And now, I believe I jump cut through this, but initially I had the wonderful idea that I could swim there, and then I quickly realized how long it takes to swim just the tiniest bit. So I believe I jump cut through this after I get some reports. Yep, jump cut. Back in the science laboratory, researching more sciencey stuff, because we love sciencey stuff. Among the MechJeb, which is in the flight control, and MechJeb's awesome, and I love MechJeb. getting the solar panels here, one of the most important things that you will ever get in the tech tree. Creating a new vehicle here. Now, just starting up the same way I mainly did. I'm plagued by indecision at this point. As this is supposed to do just a lunar mooner flyby in order to collect scientific data and stuff. Yeah, that stuff. But anyways, using a lot of parts from NovaPunch here, and now I don't have any radial decouplers, so I make my own quote radial decouplers. Now that turns out that has an interesting effect on my vehicle, as you'll see later. Now I begin to cover my vehicle in solar panels to a ridiculous extent. Putting another one of those ever useful RCS nose cones on them, aiming at the lunar encounter vehicle, and back into real time in a minute or two, I believe. Yep, here we go. Now, as you can see, I immediately start to spin, and that definitely has a bearing on what happens next. I also can't control the vehicle with crap, because the engine that I'm using has no thrust vectoring, and I don't have any additional capsules to control, so I'm just getting a tiny bit of torque given by that one capsule. Still can't tell if Jebediah is afraid or happy. Looks more happy than afraid, but definitely still afraid. Start to use the RCS nose cone and decide that's a bad idea in order to control my rotation. And you'll see the engines right now doing something weird. Oh, and that happens. So I immediately decouple them, as that was rather interesting though. Now I make the mistake here of turning around, which wastes a significant amount of delta V because I've already gone one way. Maybe I should have just put myself into orbit retrograde, although that would have been slightly weird. But anyways, going back up, back into time acceleration. You could see those things in the distance falling back behind us. Going up to get more science, because we all love science and science. Totally not running out of things to say. Sending more things here with our wonderful solar panels that we now have to charge things and stuff and things. Yeah. If you get that reference, plus 10 points. I don't know in what. I don't know what sort of points, but just plus 10 points. Anyways, separating to our next stage here. Our final powered stage, getting up to the correct apoapsis, and I quickly realize we are not getting very much thrust out of this thing. I mean, it's giving us, like, this is time accelerated, both in-game and in post-editing. So we were getting an acceleration of about 1 meter a second per second, which was, well, slow to say the least. At this point, I start to make a lunar encounter node, and then I get out of my spacecraft and quickly realize that reset the node, so I make another one. And once again go back around, and that's when I time warp to it. Because we all love lunar encounters. Even Jebediah. Even Bill and Bob. Well, not lunar encounters. There's two types of lunar encounters. We have lunar gravity encounters and lunar encounters. So, there's that. If you know what I mean. Anyways, as I realize that we're on sort of an inclined orbit, I adjust my orbit a little to get a lower periapsis on the moon to get more science done, as you can get science for just above the surface, below 20 kilometers, and that is per biome as opposed to per body. And the biomes we are currently only on Kerbal, and on the moon they're adding more. And speaking of that, Kerbal Space Program updates. Now, a lot of this is in the far future, and I'm not guaranteeing that any of this will be added, but I was reading some of the dev blogs, and I heard something mention something about more planets. Obviously, first off making Elu a moon of another gas giant, and possibly making an additional gas giant that was, in fact, not only partially a gas giant. Oh, coming back in here to burn retrograde, but in fact, that gas giant would instead simply be a very thick atmosphere and actually still have a solid surface. In parentheses is written, "Have fun landing under 6 Gs and 30 atmospheres of pressure." This is the end of episode 1. Remember to like the video, subscribe for more. Favorite if you really liked it. For now, this is Fucking Flight 2000 signing off. I'll see you next time.